Buddy Zane with Sailing Views. I have a special treat for most of you people that are trying to get boats from one place to the other or just across an ocean or something like that. This is Wil Kinsey. He's a good friend of mine. He actually grew up here in Alabama, or partially grew up here. He's been off sailing, traveling the world, doing deliveries for big boats for years. So how you doing, Will? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, everything is good. I'm Will. I grew up in Fairhope and at the beach. Started sailing for dollars, as I call it, a little over 26 years ago, and worked charters, and worked as head rigger's assistant for Norseman Mast Builders and Riggers back in '96. Cruised all through Central America, just kind of hitchhiking around on boats. Ended up in Seattle. I worked for Yacht Riggers Incorporated up there with actual mast fabrication and everything else. Got to race a few classes of boats, including 6-meter one design, won '97 Lipton Cup out of the Seattle Yacht Club for world qualifying 6-meter nationals.
Mm-hmm.
It's my only one design thing. I won the first Hobie 16 race to Cuba in 2015. That was something I don't believe I'll ever do again. But now I just deliver boats, mainly the new Genots and the new Fontaine Peugeots. I was also a sailing instructor for a while, so I do a lot of the deliveries for the private individuals, for the brokerages. I also do the handovers of the new yachts to the new owners, many of whom are not that experienced sailors, and I spend a couple days with them, and we just kind of run a sail camp, you know what I mean? And so I'm just traveling around, and that's what I'm doing these days.
Yeah. So when you deliver these new boats and the people aren't very experienced, how deep do you go into these lessons? I mean, do you have to teach them everything? I mean, obviously, being the boat captain right before they take it, you have to show them all the buttons and the ins and outs. But I mean, do you take them down into the bilges and literally explain all the redundancies and the factors, how everything works, or what?
No, usually like these people that have bought the new boats really do their homework on what is where in the boats, how all that stuff works, but they don't have the sailing background, or they might have a little bit, and it's all been up to the individual. Some people I really worry about them, when I hand the boat over. But others do really well. I had a couple this past weekend on a brand new FP Lucia 40. Usually I can't get the new people to get their heads out of the instruments and onto the water and all around the boat. These people were the best I've ever had, man. They were into, everything going on in the water. They were using the instruments just to kind of double check that. And so we got a little more advanced with that couple. We talked about some of the sail shape, using the bang, flattening it out, looking up, seeing what's happening when the boat's going upwind, flying the boat, just really concentrating and emphasizing flying the boat. As we're a whole lot of inexperienced people, they have this idea that we're being blown around, and we're using the wind, but we're we have some wings here that we're flying, and it's really exciting to show that to some of the new people. Some people do better than others, to answer your question there.
I hear you. All right, so I know you get to deliver a lot of these really cool new boats. What's one of your favorites? Is it one of the newer ones or the older ones, or are the newer ones just completely surpassing the older designs, or what are your thoughts on that?
So when it comes to just regular monohull cruising boats, the new Jeanneau 440s and the new Jeanneau 490s, incredible. These things are beamy boats that starts way forward. They've got a relatively flat bottom, dual rudders, and they handle, it's hard to believe you're driving a cruising boat. Plus they have these walk around helms. You don't have to climb over anything to get outside of the cockpit. You can just walk right around. Those things flip down into these big beds and stuff. They're a lot of fun to deliver. They're real fast, they're really nimble, and they're a really nice European apartment down below. But that's that's probably my favorite right now. But just brought a 490 up from like St. Thomas, and I'm in St. Pete right now.
Yeah. I know the marina you pulled into. I was there a couple months ago. I was on a friend of mine's been into, I don't remember what it was, 44, 45, I don't know. Nice little marina you're at. All right, so what's one of your favorite places to sail? Or do you have a favorite destination, or do you just like being on the water?
Well, I got a new favorite destination last year, Bermuda.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I got the so I got the pleasure to take one of the Harvey yachts, one of the Harvey 58s, which is all carbon catamaran. That the guy Harvey, I think his last name's Harvey, like Phil Harvey and his wife Linda, they used to run the gunboat operation, I guess is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
He built two 58s and a 62 that have all the performance of the gunboats. They look really similar and everything. But last year I got to sail one of those from like St. Thomas out to Bermuda, and then from there we went on up to Maine after spending a week in Bermuda. That boat was fun. With the brakes on it, we're doing 12 to 15 knots. 3 times underway. Once I was in the rack and I felt the boat light up, and man, it was like a G-force. Like you felt it, and I'm in the rack half asleep. So I'm like, man, I'm dreaming. And then when I went on deck, the owner and then his friend were jumping up and down, super excited. They went 24 knots, which we were trying not to do. We were trying to sail the boat slow up there, just so we didn't have any instances.
Yeah.
So then twice more, we had a couple of puffs on that journey where the boat fired up to 24, and it just takes off. It's insane. If you haven't had a ride on a good fast carbon catamaran, a big one, I highly suggest.
Yeah. Now on a boat like that, you know, and I've seen the gunboats, and I know the Harveys, you know, the similar design and everything. When boats,
this thing on?
Yeah, I'm still here, even though you froze up for me, but I can hear you.
Oh, you're cutting out, brother.
Yeah, well, I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. With these catamarans, when you're going that speed, do they still ride okay, or do they just sort of beat you to death, or do they stay relatively smooth?
Well, we were in relatively flat water with just there was these lines of there was these lines of weather that would come off the beam or off the rear quarter on the starboard side, which is windward side of the boat. We were only in about maybe 10 to 12 knots of breeze anyway. And then when these whatever puffs came through, I forgot what they were, man, the boat would just light up. So we would roll the jib in a little bit and then slow it back down to 12 or 15.
Wow.
Slow down to 12 to 15.
Yeah.
If you can grasp that.
Yeah.
Routinely, you know, slowing down to 12 to 15.
Wow. So I guess you can outrun storms on that boat pretty well. So, you know, that's got to be a nice thing for those that can afford it. All right. Well, let's go on to one of your best trips. If you had just a trip that just stands out in your mind that, you know, this is the perfect day, this is the perfect delivery, this is a perfect race, you know, anything. What's a good moment?
Man, to be honest with you, I have much more of those than I have tragic moments. So it's hard to really point one out, you know. Man, there's just been so many, and like that question really put me on the spot. I have no idea how to answer.
All right. Well, let's go back the other way then. What's your worst moment? I mean, you know, I've done deliveries and been stuck out, and all of a sudden, just about everything on the boat fails out in the middle of, you know, middle of the Atlantic. But what about you?
Yeah, might have been more crew related failures. You know, sometimes I'll get crew off of these agencies or like the Facebook groups, you know, sometime, and they're always people that have these resumes, they have a CV, they have you know, they have a story, and it's probably my fault for not interviewing them properly, but had a couple funny instances with that. Just this past Thanksgiving, trying to get crew, trying to get a boat, one of the 490s from Lauderdale to Annapolis. And so I ended up with this woman who was retired Air Force, had this list of boats. She had delivered this list of ASA certifications, really strong and assertive over the phone. And I was desperate for crew to race a weather window. I had a boat to go to Acapulco to get through the Panama Canal. So I just had to make this work. So we leave Lauderdale. I'll let her go down below first because she flew in early in the morning. Like we leave the 17th Avenue Bridge at 0900. And she goes down below to sleep. She comes out and about 3:15, and I was really tired. I just brought a boat down to Lauderdale. I spent 2 days getting this 490 ready. These are all brand new boats. I have to unpack everything and all that stuff. So she seemed like she really didn't know what was going on. I was a little apprehensive about going to sleep, so I just brought a pillow up into the cockpit. And then there had already been some weird conversations. Like I showed her where the sheets were. And then I was standing up at the up at the companionway, and she's like, "Are you going to tell me what those sheets are?" And I was like, "The sheets are back there."
Yeah.
She's like, "So those aren't sheets?" It's like, "Those are not sheets."
How do people get ASA certified for that?
I'm not going to say anything, but man, I've had a 100% failure rate with people that have certifications from them.
Yeah. I don't want to throw ASA under the bus, but I always see people saying, "Yes, I got my ASA certified for this or that," and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what they teach, but I've never seen I haven't seen very many. So what?
Everyone thinks everyone thinks that C school is like some trade school or college, and it's like it's a weekend seminar to teach you the answers to the test. It's not
right.
It's not any real comprehensive. It's
it teaches you marks, navigation. It doesn't teach you a whole lot.
It just doesn't give you any experience on anything or any real.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets crazy. I bring a pillow up into the cockpit. It's about 3:15 in the afternoon, like 15:13. I go to sleep. About maybe 50 minutes later, she wakes me up. She's like, Will, I think we're too close to this boat. I'm thinking I'm going to look up and there's going to be some boat a quarter mile away or a half mile away, plenty of room, plenty of everything. I look up, I'm on the starboard side of the cockpit, and if I would have been on the port bow of the boat, I could have touched this catamaran.
Oh, wow.
I could have touched it. We're about 3 miles off the coast of West Palm. I just reached over and I put about 40 degrees on the autopilot, and the boat slowly came away from the cat. I'm still just waking up, not realizing what's going on, and then I reach back and I throttle back the boat, and I was so just, I don't even have words to describe the emotions that were just erupting through me, and all I could do was say, and I was real calm about it too. I was like, I've never been that close to a boat before. And that's all I could say. And I ended up staying up until 5 a.m, dropped her off in Cape Canaveral, and I flew someone else in. But that's about the worst thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you wake up and you're about to hit a boat in the middle of the ocean, you're like, what? Can't you, yeah, I mean, if you don't have the common sense not to hit something, oh, Lord. Yeah, there's a problem. All right, so what's something really interesting you've seen floating?
Oh, man. I saw some square grouper off of Haiti.
Some what?
Square grouper.
Oh, square grouper.
Yeah, these little some people call them retirement packages. Saw about maybe 10 of those floating by.
Oh, okay. It took me a minute to catch on those. All right.
Yeah. We were on the big boat. Sometimes I work as engineer on the schooner Columbia. It's really cool, like super yacht schooner. If you guys haven't seen it, it's cool. It's a replica of an old Gloucester schooner, but so we just looked at it when we went by. It was pretty interesting. like big pieces of plastic, I guess, from oil rigs, crazy looking fish. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
But the all the drugs floating in the water, that kind of got my attention. But probably what is the craziest, and I got really used to it living in Key West, but were the Cuban rafts, man.
Yeah.
This question just sparked the Cuban raft thing. They were every day. Like, I used to do eco tours out in the mangroves through a charter company down there. We do a sail, snorkel, kayak thing, and every few days it would be these new like homemade boats. There was a little campground area on one of the little keys in the wildlife refuge. Like, some days you'd go by and you'd see a fire smoldering. You'd use, that like some of them, like would be there, and that was really heavy duty stuff and strange stuff to see on the water, man. Like, knowing someone just risked everything. I'm talking everything, like not just their life, but they've completely given up their families, their friends, everything they've ever known, man, to try to go do something different. And they cross in these crazy little homemade boats, and they make it. It's crazy. But that's the craziest stuff, man. Those Cuban rafts, I would imagine.
Yeah. All right. So the Panama Canal question is, what's it like going through there? Are you able to get through it pretty quick? I've heard people talk about having to bribe people to get through quicker, and I've heard people having to sit and wait for a month to get through. I've heard all kind of crazy stories.
Okay, so no, man, I was on a really good program there. We pulled into the Pacific side, and we already had an appointment that was about 2 weeks away from the date I got there. We ran down the West Coast, and then so I was in a rental car and like hotels for 2 weeks waiting for the appointment. The owner and a whole nother crew flew in. At about 06 in the morning, we got the pilot on the boat. And then about 08:30, we started our transit through the first canal. There's 3 locks that go up. It's a total of 85 feet. And then you go across the lake. While we were going across the lake in the town of Gamboa, we switched pilots. And then they were going to possibly make us wait in the lake unless we would just take a sidewall, because they had laid off a bunch of the line handlers. So we couldn't go straddle in the middle. And the lake doesn't have as high a water levels as it used to have. So they're really trying to conserve the water, because that's what powers all those locks. Like, that's what fuels all the up and down. So so I had to sign a thing saying that we'd go sidewall, and like they weren't liable for any of the damages, like if we got any on the sidewall, which was fine. We had the fenders out, but then anytime it was going down, that's when like we were on the downside. Man, it just had the boat pushed away from the wall the whole time. It was fine. And then we were completely finished by like 4:35 in the afternoon. So it was just a day trip for us on like a 65-foot sailing catamaran.
Yeah. See, I've heard horror stories about people getting stuck and having to, All right. So what's one of your best projects you've been involved in, or best companies you've worked for, or, just something that you've done that's just been really cool, something in this industry?
Oh, man, there's been so many. One of the coolest things was in 2007, I guess, 2006 and 2007 some. I was the head instructor for the Orange Beach Sail Camp.
Yeah.
The first few strong years of it, we have about 200 kids we ran through the program there each year. And then it's a day camp. You've got a morning class and you have an afternoon class, totally different kids. And then it's all like U.S. sailing curriculum, which is teaching them how to race, which is right up my alley. Mm-hmm. So it was so much fun. So the most awesome thing in the world is to have all these kids on a Monday who don't know anything, and then on Friday their parents out at the pier watching the pre-starts, the kids actually doing the pre-starts, really sailing around the buoys the proper way and enjoying it. That's the most awesome thing I've ever done in this industry, for sure, like by far, hands down.
Yeah. All right. That I know coaching kids is always very rewarding, or at least always has been to me. So, hey, speaking of that, who gave you some inspiration? Who really got you into sailing, and who got this whole path going for you?
So, April of '94, and I had kind of sailed growing up and stuff. I wasn't like you guys and like heavily involved. I just kind of sailed at the summer camps. We had, we had a lot of friends and family that had, like Hobie cats in their yard at the bay. I just kind of assumed everybody had a Hobie cat and a sunfish laying around, But in April of '94, Rusty Davidson, who at the time he owned the Cyrus Sea King, I believe he still has it, knocked on my door. Like we had been friends at the beach there, and asked if I could crew on Cyrus. And it's like, what, man? You can make money sailing? And it just kind of gave me something to do. And I've never been able to get enough of it, I guess, because here I am 26 plus years later, and it's still what I do. Luckily, I'm able to make a pretty good living at it now. Way back in the day, when I was doing the charters and then doing a little bit of racing with and or against you, wasn't really making any money. You know what I mean?
Trust me, I'm still not making money. I know what you mean. I see Rusty all the time. Our kids go to the same school, and that he was teaching that, and I know Rusty's always been a very inspirational person to a lot of people he's met and helped a lot of people out, and he loves to do it the old school schooner way. The really traditional, and even a lot of things he knows are things that I either wasn't taught or just lost.
Right. So man, like crewing on this boat, the Columbia, and then I've also sailed some on the Win and Nip. It's an Alden design that was built for General George Patton. So I've been around the Martha's Vineyard area the past couple of years on those two boats, and the Shenandoah is there, which is where Rusty worked a couple summers on the Shenandoah through the Captain Robert Douglas, who's legendary around the New England. And that's where Rusty got his schooner education from. And then when I was working on Cyrus, he cut me zero slack. Like I didn't get zero slack cut for anything. And, just very demanding. And I'm so fortunate that I was able to go through that program, Yeah. So fortunate.
Yeah. Well, are you ever going to come back here and do to Pirates Cove and do a little home trip and have some fun in Perdido Bay with us?
Oh man, that would be a lot of fun. The few times I've been up there, there's been not a lot of time to enjoy anything like that. But it's about time to have it's about time to have a Lost Bay reunion, I guess, for myself.
Yeah, you need to.
Lost Bay Showdown.
Yeah, you can come with. Hey, you can come with me on my boat. I'm still stacking those up, man. So let's move on to the next thing. Have you seen any of the America's Cup stuff and the boats that are involved in that?
And unfortunately, no, I haven't been paying attention. I've seen a little bit of it. It looks a lot of fun. It's totally different than any of the I don't know. I shouldn't say it's totally different. You're still cruising around on a wing, but man, I really haven't looked into that stuff at all.
Yeah. Well, they've got the America's Magic boat has been practicing over in Pensacola, and man, that boat just looks amazing. I don't know how it relates to the rest of us, but it looks amazing.
They have those boats in like Pensacola racing right now, or practicing right now.
Yeah. Yep. And I think you're cutting out.
That's got to be cool. I would love to see them, but for some strange reason, it doesn't really interest me a whole lot to really get into it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, like I'm not knocking it. It's incredible what those guys are doing,
Yeah.
Maybe a little too rowdy for me. I don't know.
I don't know about that. All right. So what are your thoughts on women sailing and women in sailing? You have any opinions on it?
Well, yeah, man. Like I lived down in Key West for 10 years now, and for years I worked for one of the charter companies, and around Key West, there's a lot of women captains. not only captains, but there's contractors, whatever, like you name it, women are doing it down there. Man, my experience is they're amazing captains. There's like no more bad women captains as there are just bad captains in general. I don't even think we should put like the gender on it. But man, I've seen a lot of girls really getting involved in sailing. I see they have their women's groups and stuff. They're like really proud. I don't know if that is like, part of the motivation that really makes them so, for lack of better words, badass, but it's really cool to see, because I'm seeing it not only in the charter industry, but also on the private yachts, the schooner crews, everything. I'm seeing more and more women doing it, and they're serious about it. Like they, I don't know. I really can't say enough good things about the women's sailing stuff, the women's sailing programs. I get a little worried, like, hey, I'm a sailor too, because I've seen some of the articles and some of the photographers and stuff are so emphasized on the women's sailing, and it's like, man, can't we all just be sailors? But but it's awesome to see them have their day, you know what I mean, and just have the light on them. But for the really good ones, I know they don't even make a deal out of it. Though. They just go out and they kick ass, and like we're just all brothers and sisters, and all really stoked for each other, I guess.
Yep.
I think the coffee's kicking in.
Yeah, I know. It's starting to work for me, but it's mellowing me out. The question is, what are your future plans? Do you have any good long trips or any big trips lined up, or are you just going to keep puddle jumping back and forth with these new boats?
You had to ask me something like that, huh?
Uh-huh.
Serious. I don't really have any real plans right now. Waiting to see what's going on with the boat shows. Because I usually end up moving boats in and out of Annapolis to Florida, for the different boat shows, and don't know what kind of yachting's going on where this year. I'm just kind of hanging out right now, like in St. Pete, like doing a little project managing for a boat I just brought up. It's about to go into charter service, and I'm going to take a few weeks just to go hang out and have some fun. But it'd be really cool if this fall I was back busy running boats to the Caribbean, or running boats up and down the East Coast for the boat shows.
Yeah.
But no plans. I'm just kind of waiting and see, what's going on right now, as well as I do.
Yeah, that seems to be a lot of people I've talked to. It seems to be their problem, just sort of wait and see. What's the best advice you have for new sailors or new people getting into sailing?
Oh man. Gosh. Somebody said the other day, man, like, what was the best advice you got? Like, I jokingly said, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen out there.
Never heard that one. Yeah.
No, it's just, you like, never stop learning. Like, just don't think you know it all. Like, just keep your mind open to learning all the time, because as soon as you stop that, I've seen a lot of really good sailors, or a lot of really potential people, maybe go get a captain's license after only being on a boat a couple of years, and then they decide they just are not ever going to crew for anyone anymore. And that, like, keep crewing for people. Don't be so caught up in just being captain. Like, let that simmer for a while, man. The longer you take to do that, the more awesome you're going to be.
Yep.
But that's about, it's about all I have.
That's all you have. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen out there. That's where we're going to go with. That'll be your byline.
It's not only, I'm just saying, don't rush to get your captain's license just because sea school's only a week long.
Yeah, sea school goes quick.
Like, give that some time. Let it simmer. Go, go sail around with some cool people. Go find some cool captains to sail around with, or some cool leaders. They don't even have to be a captain, but just go find some cool people to sail around with, instead of just being all caught up in being captain and, just.
Yeah. Sometimes you really don't want to be captain of that vessel,
Oh man.
Yeah. So, all right. what can we do to get more people involved? Because I know you get to meet new people that are getting into the sport a lot more than the rest of us. What do those of us that are sailors and are regulars and do this all the time? What can we do to get more people in?
That's a great question. Maybe post more stuff on social media of the cool stuff we're doing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like we all love boats, and if you can show up pictures of some cool boats. One thing, you were talking about the new Fast, like all the Fast America's Cup and everything a few minutes ago. One thing that really has done is brought a lot more people's attention to it. But these boats are doing 50 miles an hour and 20 miles an hour breeze.
Yeah.
And when
I think they're doing 40 and 12 knots, man. I don't think they've seen 20 knots of breeze because I don't think there's a motorboat that could keep up. But anyway, yeah.
Right. But so like that's incredible, and it sparks people's interest. There's people watching it on the TV, they're watching it online, and they're like, I've watched a few people over the past few years that I would have never thought have ever had any interest in sailing. They're like the sport fishing people from the Gulf Coast there.
Yeah.
Wonderful people, by the way. Lots of fun. They seem to be into watching the sailing. But what I worry about is when they go to take the sailing lesson, and it's a totally different ride than this boat doing 40 knots and 12 knots of breeze. It's you're on a 20-foot day sailor or a sunfish, which I find exciting, but I think it might be a big letdown for a lot of people who get involved that way and then end up going to lessons. And invite your friends out sailing. That's probably the best thing. Take them out. Make your friends go on the boat with you.
Now your video froze, so I don't know if I lost you or not, but I did get the audio of that whole clip, so that I can still use that.
Zane, man.
Yeah.
Are you there?
I'm here. All right. Like I said, I got the audio of your whole thing, and I know I got it recorded, so that'll work.
All right, it'll be like This American Life.
Yeah.
It's saying no.
All right, so when we're gonna make sure your internet's stable.
What question are we up to anyway? What question is this? Do you have the number?
We're literally pulling into 20 right now. All right, so with your, I believe it's your 20th question. I don't know. I lose track sometimes. But with your 20th question, and it's not really a question, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, man. Worthless.
You're useless to me, man. What are you doing? Come on.
No, man, I really want to thank you for doing what you're doing. Hopefully some of these videos will spark some of the people's interest into sailing. Your previous question has always been something on my mind. How do we make that happen? What can I do? What can we do as a community, man, to get more people into sailing? And it's the $1 million question to a zero. I'm not even trying to make $1 million off of it, but I would like to get a lot more people into sailing. I know it changed my life, gave me a lot of direction, and look at me now. But and like maybe it could do the same for other people.
Yeah, sailing's one of these things that stays with you a lifetime, and it can definitely change your life. For some people good and some people bad. But sailing's definitely a sport that it teaches you to think, and there's so many different variables that you can't get pigeonholed in one way of thinking. You've got to adapt, overcome, and it happens all the time. Yep.
Not even in the 60 seconds.
Yeah. So.
It all changed really quick.
Yep. All right. Well, I think our internet's about to crap out. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give us an exit here. But I want to thank you, Wil. Wil, hopefully, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how they can track you down in case they need a delivery captain.
or you can look for me on the Facebook platform, Wil Kinsey, WILKINSEY. Will Sail Fast, I think, on some other social media, WILSAILFAST, and or just ask around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to definitely edit your phone number out because I'm not putting that on there. I don't want you to get.
Oh, you're cutting out again.
Yeah. Well.
Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm cutting out your phone number. I'm not
notice.
going to put that online. But with your internet, I'm leaving you. I can't deal with this anymore. But thank you, Will. It's been great. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I love seeing what you're doing. So keep posting your pictures and videos of your trips. I enjoy it. I get to live through you. So with that, this is Zane from Sailing Views. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, follow this. We got a lot more interviews coming. So we will see you. Over, out, and bye-bye.
Be safe.